How's it going, guys? It's Noir Tapes back with another video. Today I finally got my ass into gear and decided I'm going to start working on this NYC vlog. So if some of you haven't heard on the channel, or if you're new to the channel, I spent a month in NYC this year. The homeboy Mercy there. So I met this guy around like a year ago, and we did a bunch of Zoom calls and became really familiar with each other. And we both like each other's work, and basically he offered me a great opportunity. He said, come over, stay at my place, and you can, do tourist things. He'll get me some shows and stuff. And I took the opportunity, met this guy at the airport, and it was exactly the same as like the Zoom calls. So the opportunity couldn't be better. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to break down the trip, tell you what I did, tell you a bit about everything. I've got like a list on my phone here, and I'm just going to go through it. I'm going to put up pictures, and if there's videos, I'll cut to them in the editing, and hopefully this turns out the way I feel. Alright, so I actually went from the 29th of April to the 29th of May. Spent the whole of May in New York. For starters, I left on a Saturday, and I left on Saturday night in New York as well, and arrived home on Monday. But I left Australia on a Saturday, and I spent the Friday, due to family leaving a day early, I had to go with them. I spent the Friday in Brisbane, just hung out, went for a walk down the river a bit, got some breakfast, etc. It was pretty chill. Basically got ready for my flight. Goddamn cities, man, why is everything so fucking loud? I'm just at the Brisbane River right now, not too far away from Joey's where I'm going for breakfast. But yeah, I'll give you a quick view. The view here is pretty nuts, huh? Spent the night in Brisbane with some mates, and then went off we go. 16-hour flight. It was ridiculous. I've never done an international flight before. It's my first international flight. It was a big adventure. It took a long time on the plane. Often they would black out the flight for pretty much the entire flight, and everyone's just trying to sleep, and it sort of feels like it goes forever. You keep looking at the in-flight entertainment. You can see how far you are across the ocean, and it just feels like it's never moving until you get to that last hour, and it sort of starts to become real how close you are. And when I got there, it was raining, so it was like sort of like a video game loading. Like they have the clouds, you couldn't see anything. When you get in, you really can't see anything anyways because it's pissing down rain. And immigration took a while. Wasn't too bad though, and pretty much I was on the call with Mers. I walked out the door and he was right there, like right at the door to the terminal. It was perfect. And then off we went. So I'll just break down what I did in each week. I was there for 4 weeks, so I'll go through each one, just tell you a bit about it. So in the first week, one of my notes here, I went to Forest Hills. That's like a place just down from Queens to the right. Very cool, like, I want to say Victorian, but Victorian's an Australian term. But like these cobblestone roads and like these cool looking old buildings. Put some pictures up. I didn't get too many while I was there. We were there for a short time, just sort of drove through, but it was really cool. Really cool to see, something different you never see anywhere else. So while I was in the process of editing, I realized I actually forgot to talk about a few things. I decided to come over and do a double take. Just sit cut between the two clips a few times throughout the video. It's no big deal. I just missed some things and realized while I was editing. In the first week, one of the things we did was actually go to the pier, and you can see Manhattan across the river. It's beautiful. I got a few photos there, sitting with like a bunch of the stuff at the pier. Took a few photos of the cityscape. It was excellent. Really good spot. You can see the state building through the clouds. It was like really mad. I can't believe I forgot to talk about that. It's a really dope looking area for sure. I forgot to mention as well, just getting used to the life in Queens. I wasn't planning to include too many photos of the area in Queens, but when I was in the process of editing this video, I realized I have so many different photos of Queens, and they're all just so cool. So I thought I had to chuck them up and talk about them. Like Rio Gardens, just so much lush greenery. It's just beautiful, lots of hedges and stuff. And going to the Queen's Centre and checking out that place, it's just a very different world over there. It's something I had to talk about. Just the vibe around that area is really cool. It's very diverse, so many different people. I just wanted to show some pictures of that. And then the next note I had was Six Flags. This wasn't actually on the books for me. I didn't think I was going to Six Flags at all. I knew a little bit about it, but I never had plans to go or anything. But it was his girlfriend's birthday and she wanted to go to Six Flags. And so they invited me. I was happy to go. I paid for my ticket, obviously. And yeah, it was good. I mean, it's just a big theme park. A lot of the Americans were really excited about it. They were all, oh my God, you're on to Six Flags? Like, I think a theme park's a theme park. It's just a lot of walking and waiting in lines, isn't it? In Australia, they're not. Like, Six Flags was basically a bigger version of the ones in Australia as well. Honestly, theme park's a theme park. I'm not super excited about it. But, it was fun. It was cool, and it was the company you're with that makes it fun. So we had a good time.
I got 2%.
And then my last note there in week 1, on the way back from Six Flags, we actually ended up driving. We took a wrong turn at one point, and we ended up driving through Times Square at night. So that kind of worked out all right. And it was cool. I mean, very bright lights. Put some pictures up. It was just very bright. I didn't end up going back to Times Square at night. I did go through in the day, unfortunately. I didn't even think about going back at night. But it was cool to see. It was a very surreal moment when you sort of approach it and you're like, oh shit, So bright, so many billboards. All right, that was week 1. On to week 2. I've got the New York City Public Library. Apparently this is a relatively new thing. It's very much a tourist attraction. Neither of the people I was staying with had been there. It's a new thing, apparently. Very cool grass area behind it. It was like pretty beautiful, and the park was just packed with people. And then when you went inside, there was like a few statues. They had the Gutenberg Bible, which is like one of the first printed Bibles. That was pretty cool. But it's not the sort of library you borrow books out of. It's the sort of library you just check out and look at the architecture and stuff. Very cool. And this is my first time in Manhattan as well for the whole trip. So it was like cool to go walk around, look at all the masses of people and just see all these giant buildings and stuff. Then my next night I actually went to Times Square in the day, on that same day. We walked through, went to the M&M building. I didn't take any pictures in there. It is what it is. Just M&Ms. But, it was cool. It just felt like a very packed place. A lot of people. There were signs telling you if someone tries to give you a CD, you don't have to take it. They put it like on you. You don't have to tip them. You're not obliged to, which is like crazy. Also forgot to talk about Soho. So after going to Times Square in the day, we actually end up going to Soho. Soho is known as the fashion district. I didn't buy any clothes there or anything, but the vibe there was really cool. There was one point after I had lunch there where I felt like I was in a bit of a dream. Like, it felt kind of weirdly like I was in a movie sort of thing. It was really bizarre. But yeah, so we only went there for a bit, checked out some little shops and stuff, and went to this restaurant called Jack's Wife Frida. And yeah, it was delicious. I loved the food there. It was top notch. Some of it was like a real vibe. I took a lot of pictures in different buildings and stuff. It was really cool. And then later that same week, in week 2, we went to the Queen's Museum. I was staying in Queens the whole time I was there. So that was cool, like to go check out the museum. Some really cool stuff there. I put some pictures up. They had like a big panorama of New York made out of like cardboard. You could walk around the edge. It was really cool. A few things in there, like some pretty cool exhibits. It's just art, it's a museum. But the park outside was really cool. The park outside is called Flushing Meadows Corona Park. Apparently a bit of a famous park. I think the World's Fair was held there at some point. Very big park. I didn't realize the scale while I was there. I found out after I left because I got sent all these things that were in the park and I was like, I didn't see any of those. It's huge. I'll put up some pictures. There's like the big globe. That was really cool. That was actually in the Soul Bounce video that Mers did with my beat. Put that in the corner. Very cool. And lots of cool statues and stuff like that. And then we walked 3 minutes from there to Queen Zoo. Got to see some bald eagles. That's a very American thing. And checked out a bunch of different animals. Most of the stuff, we've got some form of that in Australia. But some of the stuff is like, never seen before. It was pretty cool. Nice to see those bald eagles. That's a very American thing. And then at the end of that week, which is halfway through my trip, I did my show. I performed at the Brooklyn Music Kitchen. Started at 10:45. We had to go there for sound check at like 6, but it didn't really end up happening. We did the sound check just before we started. But yeah, 10:45 I started. I did about 15 minutes. And then Mers went on right after. And then there was 2 other artists. And then Hershey, the guy who organized it was the last one. And I thought it went pretty well. I ended up drinking through the whole like menu, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, not a bad venue at all. Good amount of people there. You had a good mix of people who were there for it and also people who were there for like local music and just having a drink. So, and it was cool. Like I got to stand outside with some of the people, some of the locals, and have a chat and like learn a bit about them and stuff. So it was really cool. Had a good time. Now on to week 3. I went to the Flatiron building. It's a really old building in New York. You see it in a lot of pictures of old New York. It's the one that's sort of triangular. Put a picture up here. But yeah, I sort of came up from the subway and I couldn't see it, and I realized I was literally underneath it. And I walked across the road to the park, took some pictures of that. This is like a solo trip that I was doing. I wanted to get out and go on the subway myself and go check out these things. Solo trip today. We're going to Manhattan by myself. Pretty simple trip. We just go on the subway, take the R train for like 14 stops or whatever. Depends where I want to stop. But I think I'm going to stop at the Flatiron building, or Flatiron, however you say it. Check that out. And then after that, we're going to walk to Union Square. Check that out. And then hopefully finish the day by walking to Cats. Have something to eat there. Probably walk back to Union Square. I haven't checked out the subway stations near Cats. See if I can get on the R train, just jump straight back. But I know from Union Square I can definitely just jump on the R train, 14 stops back to Queens, and then walk home. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. So I went to that. I went to Union Square. Unfortunately, I picked a day where the markets weren't on at Union Square, so that's a shame. I couldn't find the chess hustlers or anything that kind of makes Union Square famous, but that's all right. And now I walked from Union Square to Cat's Deli, put some pictures up of that. I got plenty of pictures of that. Waited like 40 minutes in line to get in, and then like 30 minutes at the counter just to get a sandwich. And like it was okay. I mean, like the meat was pretty high quality, but honestly, it was just meat and mustard. I mean, like it was all right. Like the experience was had. You know, people are going to judge it differently. I like the pickles. I like the mustard. But yeah, you know, it costs a lot for a sandwich, and there's not a whole lot on it. You know. And then a couple of days later in week 3, we ended up me and Mers did a trip into Manhattan again to go check out some more things. It was raining that day, so we had our brollies. And we came up in Grand Central Station. That was very surreal. Something you've only seen in movies, really. And no one talks about the roof. The roof's like so beautiful. I took a lot of photos of that. And then we had breakfast across the road from Grand Central Station. Then we went back in and we went down to Wall Street. And we were heading towards the bull statue. But yeah, there was this really cool church. Took a bunch of photos of that. And then got some photos of the bull. That was pretty cool. And then we kept walking past there to the Staten Island Ferry, which is free. And you take that across and you get to go past the Statue of Liberty. So took a few photos of that. And that was really cool. Very surreal. You know, it's something you only see in movies. And yeah, I didn't even consider doing the trip to the island. Like, I was packing my trip in a lot already, and I was really focused on music and stuff, so I didn't consider doing a lot of these extra things. I probably should have done like the trip to the island, but it's okay. Next time, you know, there's always next time. And then the last thing we did in week 3, we were going to a party or something, and we stopped at Christina's, which is like another famous deli for their like heart attack sandwich, and it was good, very tasty. I can only eat half of it, and I had to save the other half for later. But it's very tasty, and that was much better than Kat's. There was no line at all. Like, just got straight in, ordered, you know, easy peasy. In the 3rd week, we went to Dumbo as well. I forgot to mention that. I don't really know much about Dumbo, if I'm honest. I know that Jay-Z talks about it a lot. But yeah, no, it was pretty cool. You could see like the Brooklyn Bridge, and you could see the Queens Bridge, and I got a few photos of both. But yeah, no, it was cool. We went to like a rooftop bar there, and walked across the water, and there was like a bunch of cool graffiti around, and yeah, it was a cool place. And I went to that iconic spot in Dumbo where you stand in the intersection and you have the bridge behind you down the between the buildings. I didn't get a photo there, but I took some photos of it. But yeah, that was cool. In week 3, I also went to a Mets baseball game. We actually went to Dumbo earlier that day, and then went to the Mets game in the afternoon/night. That was really cool. Picked up this hat. It's got the Subway Series on the side, the Mets versus the Yankees. I took some photos of that. Being a baseball fan, a very casual baseball fan these days, I used to be a bit more into it, but it was really cool to go see a game live and see like how fast they throw the ball in real life compared to when you see it through a TV, you know? It was really dope. We had a good time. The Mets won, so that was dope to go see them when they win. And yeah, really dope. I enjoyed the Mets a lot. And at the end of week 3, I also forgot to mention that I have a bunch of footage from the Time Flies music video. Put an annotation up in the corner there for that. Me and Mers have been working on a project. It's still not out yet. Time Flies is one of the songs on it, and he really wanted to shoot a video. And so we had a few discussions about it, how we'd do it. I ended up using my phone because the stabilization looked really good and I can get it up to 4K. So we walked from Queens through the subway and then through Jackson Heights, and we went to catch up with one of these homeboys. And yeah, I was filming a bunch of stuff, taking a bunch of pictures. That was cool. I didn't really get a lot of time in Jackson Heights, but it was a big vibe for sure. The trees down the walkway with the big brick buildings, it was really cool. It was a big vibe for sure. After we filmed all the footage, I started editing it the next day and pretty much had it done in one day, I think. And then he checked it out with me and we reviewed it and made some decisions together and pretty much finished. And he wanted it in black and white. I wasn't really fussy. I didn't really mind if I wanted to do it in color or black and white. But since we had some daytime clips and some nighttime clips, it sort of made sense to do it black and white. And it lets the song speak for itself more so than the video. And now we're on to the last week. The first one on my list here, I went to Adorama. That's not a famous spot or anything, but it's a very big camera shop in New York. This guy was looking for lenses. He wanted some lenses while he was over there because he wanted shot options. And he picked up a bunch. This lens that you're on right now is really good for portraits and stuff. And I actually got this from Best Buy. But I got a wide angle lens with some fisheye effect from Adorama. And it's cool because they let you try it on your camera and check it out and stuff. So I really liked that store. It was really cool. This is also another solo trip, by the way. I should have added. I went in to Manhattan on the subway, came up at Adorama. And then from Adorama, I walked, I think I got the subway again, went to the 9/11 Memorial. That was very surreal, very like emotional moment. It's so crazy. Seeing the water flow down the walls and become very still at the bottom as it moves into the middle. And you got the World Trade Center just standing there over the top. It's like, yeah, pretty surreal moment. And then in the same day, I also went back up towards the Chrysler building. I went to check that out. Bit of a bummer. I thought you could go check it out, like some different levels and stuff, but they said no. I couldn't do anything. So I just walked around the lobby, took some photos, and went outside, took some photos up the side of it. It was so funny because I didn't realize until I was doing the trip that I was actually crossing a lot of the areas we had already passed, like on the day we went to Wall Street and stuff. When I came up to the 9/11 Memorial, I actually came out the same subway and I saw the same church and I was like, oh shit, we're just around the corner. But yeah, that's Manhattan for you, I think. And then the last couple of things I did, we went to Central Park. We actually ended up going to the top of Central Park, not the bottom, which is where everyone normally goes in. That's like the famous part. But it was alright. It's probably the only place in New York where you could walk, find places where you couldn't see anyone else because it's such a big park. A lot of homeless in there too. But yeah, no, it was good. Very green. And then we also went to the Met Museum. That was really cool. It is such a big museum. We barely got through like a third of it probably. It was huge. My feet were killing me by the end of it. It was really a lot of fun. I took heaps of photos. Nowhere near enough time to put them all up. I'll put some cool ones up. But yeah, there was like samurais, like medieval knights, guns, cool statues everywhere. It was sick. And lots of paintings and stuff. Definitely recommend that. That's right next to Central Park. And then I also have on my list here, we actually ended up going to Chuck E. Cheese, which is kind of funny. We happened to be going to Guitar Center for like some music related stuff, and there just happened to be one next to it. And so we're like, fuck it. It's like a kids thing, but it sort of gained a bit of recognition because of Five Nights at Freddy's, right? So I was like, let's go check it out because I want to see that animatronic rat that they have there. But yeah, no, it was cool. It was actually probably the best fries I had while I was there too, which is a bit wild, from Chuck E. Cheese. But yeah, and then last thing I did before we left, actually the second last thing, I did go see a movie while I was there, Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It was a bit mid, but you got to see like the liquid butter that you could put on your popcorn stuff. We don't have that here. That's so weird. Very different.
There's technical difficulties right now. I don't know what's going on with this movie. Something's not supposed to come out like this.
Butter flavoring. This is crazy.
What kind of... I paid for this.
This is hilarious. Look at the size of this drink too. Fucking hell.
Free refills on the popcorn.
Yeah, free refills on large popcorn's crazy. And then last thing I did before I left, we actually ended up going to the Museum of Moving Image, which is essentially like a film history museum. It was pretty cool. They had a lot of old film cameras, and the Muppets were there, and Sesame Street. I saw the Masked Jim Carrey, all these really cool things that are just there. A lot of these museums, I just ended up becoming a photographer, basically, just taking photos of everything, so I remember it. But yeah, it was really cool. And that was basically the end of the trip. I sort of hung around a bit later that day, and then I left at 10 p.m. from JFK and flew back to Australia. Still a very long flight on the way back, but I managed to get some sleep at that time. Yeah, got back home. I completely missed Sunday. Got back home on the Monday about midday. And I didn't feel tired until like 6:30 p.m. that night, which was really good because I basically slept from 6:30 till 6 the next day or something ridiculous. So I got a good like 12 hours sleep and I felt refreshed. I barely got any jet lag on the way back. The way there I felt a little bit lagged, but the way back not at all. But yeah, it was a good time all up. Had a really good time doing the show, meeting all these people. I went around, worked with a few producers while I was there, worked with a few artists, met all these people, went to all these different parts of New York. It was really cool, and I definitely do it again. It was a really good time. I reckon next time I go would be like a Christmas event, I think. Check out the Rockefeller Center and check out snow, because I've never seen snow. Or I've been told to either come on Christmas or on Halloween, because we don't have Halloween here. We don't celebrate it in Australia. Like people that do parties, but there's no trick-or-treating or anything. So he said definitely like those are the two times that you have to come. So we'll see. There's definitely a repeat on the cards at some point, but I think my next trip might be London. We'll see though. But anyways, if you watched this long, thank you for watching. I'm just documenting my journeys on this channel as well as giving you guys information. So thank you for watching until the end if you did, and I'll see you next time.